In what ways did fatherhood make you a better coach?
Knowing that you have like young men that you've got to model for, like I want to model for my two sons. I want to model like what it is to be like a committed husband and, a dad that hopefully you can be proud of, that, that sets a standard, but also like emotionally shows you how much he loves you too. I would say that, like, being forced to like live for other people and want to make other people proud of you. Like the gift of love, like the gift of loving other people and wanting to be great for them and wanting to provide things for them, provide a life for them, provide an example for them, something that they could be proud of.
We talked to Andrew earlier. What's it been like having him on the team?
Man, having Andrew down there, just you miss so much with the boys, with your sons and with your kids as a coach. It's like and then you give so much emotion and you empty so much into the team that sometimes when you come home to them, you don't have as much as you wish you had for your family. You're like, you're shot sometimes. You're just a little bit drained. So to be able to have them with you, when you're at full energy and you could, pour more into that while they're with you, and then just to do the roller coaster ride with him was pretty awesome. Like that. It's such a cool thing. The wins, the losses, like the just all the epic things you get to do together. It's awesome.
Your wife says she's ready for him to move out though, because she cannot handle living with the second Dan Hurley.
I mean, the kids, it's like anything else, the stuff that you look at your dad when you're younger or older and you say, I could see that in myself, or I can't, or man, I didn't want to see that myself.
You recognize the obsessiveness
in both kids. My oldest son, Danny, with politics and government and history and the way he obsesses over his work and his interests, and Andrew here with his personality and his argumentative style and their work ethics and all the stuff. Yeah.
How do you think your upbringing impacted you as a father?
I think in a lot of ways. I think growing up, I grew up in like a neighborhood in Jersey City where there were like just a lot of good families, like a lot of good dads, a lot of hardworking dads, and then I had a really hardworking dad that spent a lot of time with us. His standards were always like really, really high, like painfully high at times. But that molded such, I think, an incredible like toughness and also a commitment to family. Like my dad was like, he was St. Anthony basketball, and it was like his family, and there weren't a lot of interests or hobbies, and in a very intense way, he poured that into his family, and I think, for me, I've tried to do those same things, and then like continuing to also show like a real emotional side of myself to my kids, like a vulnerability about myself that mixed into those other characteristics that I learned.
What's that for you, the vulnerability?
Well, for me, I learned that at Seton Hall when I was going through it as a struggling player. And I got to those deep, dark places when I quit the team, just being introduced to counseling and therapy as a tool to open up as a man and talk about the things that are bothering you, that you're struggling with, to other human beings is a sign of strength and not weakness. And being able to work through those type of things in a smart way so that you're not carrying that weight around with you. Learning that, I think, has taught me about that vulnerability, and I express that to my own kids and to my own players. Like, you've got to be dialed into your mental health, because there's a lot of different things that go into making sure that you're in a good place at full energy, and that you're obviously being grateful, and working on yourself a lot is going to get you there.
Between your dad and your mom, Chris, give some color to that tough love growing up.
I say this and they get mad at me, but it's like they were perfect, I think, parents for me, and you grew up in a perfect place like Jersey City. It's like they showed you that they loved you enough, but never like too much, where they babied you and made you soft. You know, it's like they loved you like the perfect amount of like tough love and real love, to the point where like you were tough enough, and then they pushed you hard enough that you weren't like all screwed up. You know, so it's like this perfect blend of like they pushed you hard enough that you're not all screwed up, and then like they loved you enough that you're not soft.
Too hard by today's standards?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Like I think that I love, and obviously you adapt it. You know, you adapt it to the day and age that you're in. This isn't like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I think the standards are very, very high. I think obviously the messaging has changed over the years, but I think like standards high, and but you show people how much you love them all the time.
What do you remember from your dad sending you and Bobby to some of the roughest neighborhoods to find the roughest like basketball games?
Yeah, just traveling and going to all different places. Jersey City, playing in some like tough courtyards, or going and playing in New York City, in the Bronx, or Brooklyn, or Queens, or Philly, or going to places to play against the toughest players, the best players, being put on a daily schedule where you had to like train and practice real hard and like do great in school and just compete and not back down and work hard. That was never like a form of punishment. Like that was like the greatest gift, like being taught work ethic and how to compete, and being put in some like really tough conditions to do that makes you real strong, and it made me and my brother strong.
Why did you guys stop playing each other in one-on-one in 7th or 8th grade?
Because like there was always like a big gap because I was younger, and then these were one-on-one. So like my dad was, my dad would beat my brother because he was physically just obviously way older. So he would physically beat my brother up and then be victorious. And then like the loser then would play me, who was waiting. So then my brother, pissed off, who was better than me and older than me, would then beat me, and then I would be demoralized, and then I would play the winner from the first game, which would be my dad, who was fresh and better. I was so excited when those stopped, because now my brother was getting close to beating my father, and then I would have then given my dad a game. So I think my dad is the one who called it off when he saw my brother creeping up.
How true is it that you had fever sores on your lips from when you played your brother in the NCAA tournament?
That was brutal, because I was playing like maybe 6 minutes, 8 minutes, some games less, some games a little bit more. And I could see that PJ understood that there was going to be a tactical advantage of having me out on the court, what that would psychologically do to my brother. So I noticed myself starting to practice more than I was with the first team. Like, wait a second, I didn't get this many reps. So I could sense that my role was going to be bigger. And now this became this whole big media thing. It was like the Hurley brothers, city of brotherly love, Philly. Back then, if you ever played a game on TV, it was like a big deal. You haven't even been talking to the media because you're the backup point guard. And now I've been thrown into this Hurley Bowl like crap that's like, oh my God, like this is like a disaster. You're in no position ready to be in a game of this magnitude.